Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. I hope you all are doing well. It is Monday. It is again absolutely boiling outside. Hope you all enjoyed your weekend and stayed safe of course in the sun. I absolutely sun creamed myself up yesterday to the hilt and still feel like I've burned. So I hope you all did stay safe. We're here to talk about transfers, of course, because that's what we're talking about pretty much every day now, isn't it? And as I said on Friday, whilst there mightn't be much information to talk about then, that could all change over the weekend and we could be sitting here on Monday talking about 2 or 3 players that are set to join Everton, and that is exactly the situation. Football changes every second and things change in football every second, and whilst 1 minute you might be nowhere near signing a player, the next minute you might be absolutely ready to sign on the dotted line and to bring said player into the football club, and that seems to be where we are with Everton at the moment. We spoke on Friday about Begović and Everton opening talks with Bournemouth regarding Begović. It now looks like that deal could be done. He was spotted in the Everton shop over the weekend getting pictures with fans, and yeah, according to a lot of journalists, Fabrizio Romano, The Telegraph, various other journalists coming out and saying that that deal is pretty much done and, you know, likely to be announced at sort of any point. Everton also over the weekend heavily linked with the move for Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray. Demarai Gray, of course, of Bayer Leverkusen, formerly of Leicester City. He would cost around £1.5 million according to Paul Joyce. I think The Telegraph again reported on this, The Guardian reported on this, and Andros Townsend would be coming in on a free. So just the mere basic information that we have so far is it looks like Begović will sign for Everton Football Club. Hopefully that deal will be announced in the next couple of days or so. That will be a free transfer. He'll be coming in, of course, as a number 2 goalkeeper to provide some competition for Jordan Pickford. And just Townsend has been heavily linked with Everton as well. That deal could be close to being done in advanced stages, according to a few journalists. That would be a free as well. And Demarai Gray, who is in advanced talks, according to Fabrizio Romano, that deal would be worth around £1.5 million. So I get that there's a lot of frustration surrounding these 3 names, certainly. I think we can take Begovic's name out the equation because I don't think anybody's really that frustrated with Begović coming in. I think it's a good deal, to be honest with you. I think bringing in an experienced Premier League goalkeeper, played for Chelsea, played for Bournemouth in the Premier League, played for Stoke in the Premier League. I think he was out at AC Milan over the last year or two as well on loan, you know, knows the league itself, big, tall, experienced goalkeeper, decent goalkeeper as well. Plus, like I said on Friday, I don't expect Begović to be playing, you know, even half as many games as to what Robin Olsen played last season. Carlo Ancelotti is very unique with his style and the way in which he rotates goalkeepers, and not many other managers do that. And I think Rafa Benitez is one of those managers that doesn't really do that as well. So when you look at it on that basis, we're bringing in an experienced goalkeeper who, you know, is again, for me, good enough to give Jordan Pickford a little bit of a kick up the arse, who's probably not really going to play many games for Everton, you know, maybe the odd cup game or games if Jordan Pickford's injured, but other than that, for the most part, he'll just be trying to push Jordan in training. And when you look at it that way, I actually think the Begović deal is a good deal. He's coming in on a free. He probably won't be on very high of a wage whatsoever. He's an experienced Premier League goalkeeper. He probably won't play an awful lot at Everton either. No issue with it whatsoever. I know some fans wanted Sergio Romero. I understand that, but what we have to understand is the Sergio Romero situation now is very, very different to what the Sergio Romero situation was 12 months ago when he wanted to come to Everton. I had seen some people on Twitter saying, "Oh, why haven't we gone for Sergio Romero? He wants to come to Everton." No, he wanted to come to Everton at a time when we were all very much sort of undecided on whether or not Jordan Pickford was good enough to be the number 1, and I think Sergio Romero sort of looked at that situation and thought, right, if I go to Everton now, then there's a good chance I'll get game time and there's a good chance I can become the number 1 goalkeeper. Obviously Manchester United didn't let that happen. We fast forward 12 months down the line, and if Sergio Romero comes into Everton now, he's coming in as a number 2. He's not coming in to replace Jordan Pickford because he's not better than Jordan Pickford. So why would he want to come into Everton to sit on the bench and be a number 2 goalkeeper when he wasn't happy doing that at Manchester United? Plus, Sergio Romero, again, I don't know the intricate details regarding the Begović deal, but I would assume that Sergio Romero's wage would be quite significantly higher than what Begovic's wage will be as well. So again, for me, we can want Sergio Romero all we like, and we can talk about how he would be a better goalkeeper than Asmir Begović, and he probably is, and he probably will provide a bit more competition to Jordan Pickford than Asmir Begović would. But financially, certainly given the situation Everton are in with financial fair play, the Sergio Romero deal just doesn't make much sense, whereas the Asmir Begović deal does. Now, financial fair play is something we've talked about numerous times over the last couple of days or so. We spoke about it heavily on Friday, and we have seen the effects of financial fair play over the last 2 days, haven't we? Some people still don't seem to think that we're in trouble with FFP whatsoever. Well, look at the two players we're being linked with. It clearly shows that there's troubles with financial fair play, and the reason as to why we're being linked with Andros Townsend on a free and Demarai Gray for 1.5 million, who I'm not particularly frustrated about, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. We'll talk about both players individually in a moment, but I'm not massively frustrated about either of them. But the reason we're being linked with those types of players is because of the countless years of spending 30 million on Theo Walcott when we knew he was inconsistent and coming towards the end of his career and wasn't going to offer as much, yet we still spent 30 million pounds on him. 30 odd million pounds on Cenk Tosun, an unproven striker who'd never played in the Premier League before. Yes, he'd done well in Turkey, but it's a much different kettle of fish. As shown, he come over, he had a couple of good months, and from that point, from after that onwards, he's not really done anything for Everton. 30 odd million for Yannick Bolasie, okay, come in. He could have been a massive success. He had a difficult injury, which pretty much ruined his Everton career, didn't it? We spent 30 odd million on Davy Klaassen, unproven midfielder from the Dutch league, coming over, couldn't make it in the Premier League. That's another 30 odd million. Alex Iwobi, we spent 30 odd million pounds on him, hasn't been a success so far. Yes, there's still time for Alex Iwobi, but thus far he hasn't been a success. And the list goes on, really, doesn't it? I'm sure people will still throw names at me left, right and centre. Even Bernard, who come in on a free, but is on over £120,000 a week. So when you look at those signings that we've made over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and then you look at the signings that we're being linked with now and the players that we're being linked with to today, you're sort of looking at it and you think, well, this is why. This is why we're being linked with Andros Townsend on a free. We're being linked with Demarai Gray for 1.5 million because of the countless amounts of years of spending big money on players that just aren't worth it whatsoever, and not just big transfer fees, but also paying players ridiculous amounts of money in wages when they're not worth that whatsoever. And it's now coming back to bite us on the arse. It really, really is. And I've seen some people blaming Rafa Benitez for the players that we're being linked with at the moment, and I just can't get my head around it. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and that's fine, but I've seen some people say, people want to get behind Rafa. Look at his first 3 signings: Begović, Townsend and Demarai Gray. How is this Rafael Benitez's fault? How is Rafael Benitez's bringing in, players that are coming in on very low wages, I would assume, very low transfer fees, low risk, high reward, effectively? Yes, Andros Townsend might have been one that, Rafael Benitez is sort of put to the board, but the board might have come to Rafa Benitez and gone, look, we haven't really got much money here. We need to bring in a winger that's going to maybe be a backup, or going to maybe, be somebody that can have an impact on the squad. Do you know anybody that could do that? And Rafael Benitez might have gone, yeah, I've worked with Andros Townsend before. He's a very good player, experienced this, that and the other. I really don't understand how people can blame Rafael Benitez for the fact that Everton are in a financial situation which just leaves us with not many options whatsoever. And we knew this was the situation. We spoke about it when we spoke about Moise Kean, last week. We know that unless Everton sell players, we're not going to be able to do heavy business this summer. And I'm not saying, by the way, that if Everton don't sell anybody, this will be the summer and we'll only sign Begović, Gray and Andros Townsend. We might still bring in a Denzel Dumfries. We might still bring in somebody else that sort of, gets the excitement up and makes us think, oh, actually, that's a really good signing. But we're not going to be able to bring in many of those players without the sales of various other players within the squad. And at the moment, as things stand, it looks like Moise Kean won't be leaving Everton Football Club. The latest on that was apparently PSG aren't interested in a permanent deal at all. They're only interested in a loan deal, which means he won't be going anywhere. So the money that we were, I think, expecting Moise Kean to bring in is no longer there. Certainly not at the moment. Obviously, the club don't want to sell the big name players. You like, say, your Calvert-Lewins, your Luca Deans, your Richarlisons, your Jordan Pickfords, etc. No teams are seemingly really interested in your fringe players, your Andre Gomez's, your Gylfi Sigurdssons, your Fabian Delphs, your Alex Iwobi's, because if they were interested, we'd have heard about it by now. So the only way in which Everton sort of moving players on seems to be the likes of Bernard, who've got a bit of interest and will move on and will get the wages off of the bill from him. Maybe a couple of other fringe players that are looking to be moved on, but there's not many of them. There's really, really not many of them. And I sat down yesterday and I said I'm actually looking forward to seeing players leave Everton more so than I really am looking forward to seeing players come into Everton, because Everton can't make any substantial business without players leaving the football club and without money coming into the football club. And that's why we're in this situation now where fans are in uproar, because we're signing Andros Townsend, Demarai Gray and Begović. And again, like I said, I don't particularly think these are the worst signings in the world, to be honest with you. Very, very low risk, could be potentially high reward. Look, could Andros Townsend come into Everton, sign a 2-3 year contract, whatever it may be, and do absolutely nothing for his time here? Yes, he could. It is absolutely within the realms of possibility that Andros Townsend comes to Everton and does nothing for his entire time here. It really, really is. And a lot of fans will be proven right if he does do that. But it was absolutely within the realms of possibility that Theo Walcott could come into Everton and do absolutely nothing for the time that he was here. And let's be honest, barring a couple of decent performances and the goal against Watford away, Theo Walcott didn't warrant his wage or transfer fee whatsoever at Everton. The difference between those two players is that Theo Walcott cost Everton £30 million. Andros Townsend's costed Everton nothing. Demarai Gray, 25 years old, £1.5 million, went to Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously it didn't work for him. It was alright at Leicester, didn't really work for him there. I remember watching Demarai Gray at Birmingham before he got his move to Leicester, and he was absolutely unbelievable. I remember saying, they're the type of players we should be looking at bringing in. And then obviously he went to Leicester. Now you could say, yeah, but since then, Cam, he's gone to Leicester and he's not been able to do it, and he's gone to Leverkusen and he's not been able to do it, and that's fine. And Demarai Gray could come into Everton and for the time that he's here do absolutely nothing, but he's costing us £1.5 million. And he's probably on minimal wages a week. So again, very low risk, potential high reward. Could it be low risk, no reward? Of course it could be. But it could be low risk and potentially high reward. This is what David Moyes done throughout his entire time at Everton. I remember Tim Cahill coming in. Not many people were happy with that. Various players, Mikel Arteta, why we signing him? No experience in the Premier League. This, that and the other, not going to be good enough. Lee Carsley, people moaned about that. Marcus Bent. People moaned about Marcus Bent coming in. I still stick by this. I'm 22 years old, and if you were to tell me now, Cam, list your top 5 best Everton players that you've ever seen, or in terms of, that have been the best at Everton Football Club, I can guarantee you probably 5 out of 5 of them all come from lower league clubs, or all come from clubs where when we were about to sign them, fans weren't very happy with them whatsoever. And I know Demarai Gray isn't young anymore, he's 25 years old, but 1.5 million is very, very, very low risk. Very low risk. Whereas you reverse back to the days of Theo Walcott, that was very high risk. £30 million on a player who was, let's be honest, massively inconsistent and not really doing an awful lot for Arsenal was ridiculous. Alex Iwobi, £30 million for him. Yes, there still could be a player in there with Alex Iwobi, and yes, he still could be absolutely brilliant, but it was massively high risk, the money that we spent on him. And it's those high risk players that haven't brought any reward thus far that have put us in this situation where we're having to look at low risk players. That's all it is. That is all it is. Now, am I over the moon at the signing of Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray? Not really, no. I seen it on my phone yesterday and I thought, yeah, whatever. Am I absolutely fuming that those are the players that we're being linked with? No, because I expect it. Because of the situation that we're in now. Would I be quite annoyed if we end the summer and Demarai Gray, Andros Townsend and Begović are the only signings that we make? Absolutely. Of course I would be. Because I think that we haven't strengthened the squad at all whatsoever. But there's a possibility here, and this is a possibility, that Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend are coming in to replace Bernard, to replace Yannick Bolasie. So instead of them coming in to replace our starting players, you're bringing Andros Townsend in to replace Bernard. He's coming in on a free, and Bernard's leaving, and his £130,000 a week going, and you're bringing in Andros Townsend on 50, 60 grand a week, whatever it may be, to replace him. You're already saving 70 grand a week in wages. Demarai Gray is coming in to replace Yannick Bolasie. He's left on however much he was on. Demarai Gray is coming on very cheap. So Paddy Boylan put a great tweet out yesterday, an absolutely brilliant tweet out yesterday, and I'm going to read it, and it's just a different way of looking at things. And look, I know fans will still be absolutely fuming with the situation. I get it. I get fans will still be absolutely fuming with it, and I understand that. But there's multiple different ways of looking at this. Let me get this tweet out from Paddy Boylan. Paddy Boylan said, high-earning fringe players replaced by cheaper alternatives, more wriggle room financially. Judge the summer on the success of the starters coming in. Now, obviously, Paddy Boylan is working for The Athletic, so very, very close with Everton. You know, again, The Athletic are very, very reliable when it comes to Everton. So that tweet right there, and again, this might mean this, and I might be reading in between the lines here, but that tweet right there says to me that Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend coming in to be your backup fringe players to replace the players I like Bernardo, who should be going out the football club on high wages. That, for me, him saying judge the summer on the first team quality coming in, means that these players aren't coming in to play first team football, certainly not coming in to start week in, week out, which would leave us to think who is coming in. We've been linked with Leon Bailey today in The Athletic, saying that Everton are still scouting him, and I've been scouting him for a long time. Now, are bringing in the likes of Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend and moving out some of the higher earning players, allowing us that wriggle room to try and find the funds to be able to go and sign Demarai Gray. To go and sign Leon Bailey, potentially. If you're enjoying, by the way, so far, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Big thanks to everybody in the live comments. We'll get in the live comments in a moment. If you're new to the channel, yeah, like I said, I think we're 7 subscribers, something like that, away from 4,700. So if you could subscribe, it would mean a great deal to me. So, like I said, imagine that we're sitting here in a month's time, or whenever the transfer window closes, a month and a bit's time, and yes, we've signed Demarai Gray, yes, we've signed Andros Townsend, but we've also managed to bring in a Denzel Dumfries and maybe a Leon Bailey. Then, would we be happy with that? I'd be happy with that, absolutely. Tom says, Cam, sort your head out, our owner's a multi-billionaire. He is a multi-billionaire, but it's nothing to do with the owner, how much money the owner's got. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with the fact that we can't spend it because of FFP. FFP is a difficult concept to get your head around, but the basics of it are quite simple. Teams like Manchester City, Man United, Liverpool can spend as much money as they want. The reason Man United have just been able to go out and bring in Jadon Sancho for £90 million without selling a player is because Manchester United bring in a lot more money than Everton Football Club do in regards to income every single year. They do. They're a worldwide brand. They're the biggest football club in the world. From global sponsorships to global fan base to this, that and the other. Everton haven't got that. So financial fair play basically is depending on how much you bring in as a football club. That then gets middled up with various other things, and then it comes out as to how much you can spend. Everton don't bring in anywhere near as much as Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. So therefore, our expenditure is a lot less than those clubs. And that's why we're in this situation. It's not that our owner hasn't got the money, it's that he can't spend it. And we can all say, yeah, well, forget the rules, because just go and, all those teams forgot the rules, so just go and spend what we want. But Everton aren't going to do that, because Everton are a club that don't like to break the rules. Everton are a club that don't like to, make us seem a little bit bad, or don't like to go out there and throw a spanner in the works, so we won't do that. Blue Boy Stew says, come on, get subscribing, it costs nothing, it means the world to this growing channel. Thank you very much, Blue Boy Stew, really do appreciate it, mate, really, really do appreciate it. But yeah, like I said, these types of signings don't surprise me whatsoever. They really, really don't surprise me whatsoever. And they don't, and because of that, they don't really anger me. Am I massively over the moon with Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray? Not really, no. They don't excite me whatsoever. But am I going to sit here and fume? No, because I would assume that they are not the only two outfield players that will be coming in this summer. And, again, low risk, high reward, free transfer for If we were being linked with Andros Townsend for £30 million, I'd probably be throwing my fist through the screen at the moment. Or Demarai Gray for £25 million. But we're not. We're bringing in players for free, for £1.5 million, practically for nothing. And I get they're not overly exciting, and I get that these players aren't going to take us into the top 6 or the top 4, but forget the top 4. Forget the top 4. We're not getting anywhere near the top 4 for at least the next 4 to 5 years, unless the Premier League just go, do you know what, we'll scrap FFP because it doesn't matter to us. So forget your top 4. Maybe these are the types of signings Everton need. I don't know. Maybe these players that we all sit here and go, oh, they're going to be awful, they're dreadful, why are we signing them? Maybe these players will come in and will have an impact. Who knows? But anyway, let's talk about the latest on those situations. Because there's no point in me sitting here and talking about rumours and you're thinking, what rumours, Cam? I haven't heard anything. So, the latest according to The Athletic is that Leon Bailey and Samuel Chukwueze are both players on Everton's shortlist this summer. The wingers have been scouted by Marcel Brands and Everton's recruitment team for the past couple of years. So, again, Samuel Chukwueze, Leon Bailey, would we be happy with one of them coming in with the additions of Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray? I'd be happy with that. I'd absolutely be happy with that because it still brings in the top winger that we need to bring in, and we've also brought in a couple of decent fringe players as well. But the latest on Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend, according to Fabrizio Romano this morning, Everton are closing in on signing Demarai Gray. Deal now at final stages. Buyout clause around €2 million. Contract until 2024. Crystal Palace also made a bid, but Everton are working to finalise the deal. Begović and Townsend are joining too. He also said earlier on... he also said yesterday that Asmir Begović has signed and joins Everton until June 2023. So I would expect, or I would assume, that we'll hear from the club regarding the Asmir Begović deal at some point today. It might be today, it might be tomorrow, but I would assume that the Asmir Begović signing will be formally announced at some point today. He was in the shop, the other day. He was pictured in the shop buying Everton gear. It's been, the whole weekend has been that the deal's agreed and this, that and the other. So I think, barring probably a bit of paperwork, Asmir Begović will be announced very, very shortly. Rudy Galletti did say last night that Everton and PSG are closing to reach an agreement for Denzel Dumfries. The Toffees are also discussing personal terms with Dumfries' agent Mino Raiola. So can we imagine we're in a situation where, okay, Begović gets announced today, Demarai Gray and Townsend get announced tomorrow, but then what happens if on Thursday Denzel Dumfries gets announced? What happens if next week we're in heavy talk for Leon Bailey? Then we start to think, oh, actually, let's forget about the Townsend and the Demarai Gray stuff, because look at the players we're being linked with now. So yeah, Fabrizio Romano again said last night that Everton are in advanced talks to sign Demarai Gray from Bayern Leverkusen. Rafa Benitez wants him. Deal at final stages. Crystal Palace were interested, but Everton are finalising the agreement. Alan Myers last night said that Andros Townsend is very close to Everton, very close to joining Everton. However, Demarai Gray not so much. There you go. Again, bit of contrast in there. And Paul Joyce last night, he was the first one to discuss the Demarai Gray stuff. He said that Everton are closing in on deals for wingers Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend. Gray would cost $1.5 million from Bayern Leverkusen, and Townsend would be a free transfer. And in regards to the Moise Kean situation, as we talked about before, apparently according to Julian Laurens via ESPN, PSG are not interested in signing Moise Kean on a permanent transfer. The French side only want to sign the striker on loan. So there you go. Moise Kean, PSG aren't interested in signing him on a permanent. They only want to bring him in on loan. So basically, I think Everton and a lot of Evertonians were not hoping, but sort of expecting Moise Kean to leave the football club this summer. We were going to get, maybe 25, 30 million pounds from him. We'll be able to reinvest that into the squad. Happy days. Now PSG are sort of spitting their money out and going, no, we don't want to sign him on a permanent deal. We only want a loan. And rightly so, by the way. Rightly so. I don't think anybody can criticise Everton for this. Everton have gone, no, we're not giving them, we're not sending him out on loan because it decreases his transfer value. He goes out for another year, and what's the point when we can keep him here and he can be a member of our squad next season? I've got no issue with that whatsoever. I'm no issue with Everton standing up against PSG and going, you either pay the money or you don't sign him. No issue with it. But in PSG not paying the money, it means that money that we maybe thought we had, we don't have to spend, therefore leading us into having to make deals like Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray. Anyway, let's get into them then. We will get into the live comments in a moment, I promise you. If you're enjoying, please hit that like button. 168 people watching. If we could get to 50 odd likes, that would mean a great deal to me. It does only take a second. Just hit that thumbs up button down below. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. If you could share the stream, it would mean a great deal to me. Demarai Gray then. Let's start with Demarai Gray, because I think he's the one that has caused least problem, I suppose, throughout Evertonians. 1.5 million from Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously, like I said, Very, very good in his younger days at Birmingham. I think he broke through at Birmingham when he was 16 years old. Unbelievable young talent. I remember watching him thinking, I want Everton to go and sign him. He looks amazing. Ended up going to Leicester, as a lot of fantastic young talents do. They end up going to Leicester City. Just couldn't quite make it into Leicester's squad. I don't think he was quite good enough to be what Leicester wanted him to be. And Leicester obviously are a team that, again, for the last few years now have been really challenging for European football and really challenging for sort of the Champions League and trying to break into those places. So I just don't think Demarai Gray fit the bill for Leicester. Technically, a very good footballer. Probably couldn't get that consistent level, and probably wasn't ever really settled at Leicester. You know, he moved from his boyhood club at such a young age, and he probably just could never get settled at Leicester City. Certainly got a lot of talent, certainly got a lot of potential. 25 years old, so not young, but by no means, you know, an aging player. Certainly a player that sort of at the, I don't want to say the peak of his career, but certainly around the, you know, a good age to bring in. Gone obviously to Bayer Leverkusen, didn't do it really, you know, didn't really break in at Bayer Leverkusen, but they've got, you know, the likes of Diaby and Leon Bailey on their wings as well, so it's understandable that, you know, that Demarai Gray didn't get much chance at Leverkusen and certainly didn't really impress there because his competition is two very, very good players. And now he's being linked with a move to Everton, £1.5 million. Like I said, you might look at Demarai Gray and you might think, oh, his stats aren't that great, he didn't really get involved, didn't really do well at Leicester, he didn't really impress, but for £1.5 million, for a player that could come in and have his career revitalised by Everton, he could come in and say, right, okay, this is my chance to prove that I'm a really, really top talented player, and a player that can perform in the Premier League, a player that can perform. You know, how many times have we seen players? There we go, we're back. We're back live, I believe. Sorry about that. Again, stream froze a little bit as it does. If you're enjoying the stream, please hit the like button. It only takes a second. If you could share it as well, try and get some people back. That would mean a great deal to me as well. But yeah, again, I'm not comparing Demarai Gray to Celta Vigo. Looks like your Apple hasn't it? It hasn't, mate. It hasn't. It's still not here. I'm not comparing Demarai Gray to those two players whatsoever. Those two players are obviously exceptional talents and two of the best players in the world, but they've got a thing in common, and that is that they couldn't make it in the Premier League. They moved away and then they returned to the Premier League, and they and obviously they've been very good ever since. Again, as I said before, very, very low risk, potentially high reward. Is there a potential that Demarai Gray comes in and does absolutely nothing for Everton Football Club for the however long he's going to be here for? I think Fabrizio Romano said he signed the contract till 2024, which would be 3 years, and then leaves the club having done nothing. Yes, there is the potential of that. And then, yes, some fans would go, well, he's been a waste of money then because we wasted the £1.5 million on him and we'll probably pay them however much in wages over the 3 years and he's done nothing. Of course, there's that risk, but is there not that risk with any player you bring in? You know, there's not one player you could bring in that you go, we're guaranteed that for the time he's at Everton Football Club, he is going to be absolutely unbelievable and he's going to be worth every penny. Not one player. Every signing you make, every signing any club makes, there's a risk that you're wasting the money if they don't do the job you're bringing them in to do. Demarai Gray, for me, I have no massive issue with it. No massive. Do I think he's going to turn Everton from being a mid-table, bang-average Premier League team to being a team that are, you know, in Europe every season and challenging for the Champions League? Not particularly, no. I don't particularly believe he'll do that whatsoever. Do I think that he's the only winger that Everton are going to bring in this summer? No, I don't. I think he's probably a player that Everton are looking to bring in to strengthen the squad. And hopefully, like we said, hopefully Everton are looking at bringing in some other wide players that are more likely going to start, i.e. Samuel Chukwueze, i.e. Leon Bailey we're being linked with. Denzel Dumfries is, of course, obviously he's a right back, but he's a very attacking right back. So, yeah, Demarai Gray, no big issue with it. Is it massively exciting? Not really. Not really. And when they're announced as Everton players, I'm sure we'll do a little video, I'm sure we'll talk about the positives of them, but I'm not going to sit here and go, oh my god, we're winning a lot. But maybe that's what Everton need. Maybe Everton need to bring in a couple of players that don't make us go, oh my god, we're winning a lot, these are the best players ever. Because again, same with Rafa Benitez coming in as manager, the expectation is very low then. Very, very low. No one's expecting Demarai Gray to come into Everton and score 10 goals next season. But what if he does? Then he's a steal for £1.5 million, surely, because it's 10 goals that we don't have within the squad. If he scores 5 goals, which for a winger, who again mightn't play week in, week out, but I'm sure we'll get a lot of game time, 5 goals is more than needed or more than expected for a player like that. 5 goals would improve Everton massively. Because look, where do Everton get goals from? Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Last season, we would be lost without Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and that's why I refuse to hear any criticism about him. Richarlison had a poor season last season, but for the 2 seasons prior to that, was our only big goal scorer. Sigurdsson scored a few, James scored a few, but other than that, we haven't got goals in the squad whatsoever. So if you bring in Demarai Gray in and he scores 5 or 6, and you bring in Andros Townsend and he scores 5 or 6, that's already 12 extra goals in the squad that we haven't got now. And you're replacing Bernard, who brings what? 1 goal a season, 2 goals a season max. Balassi, who wasn't playing anyway, so wasn't scoring any. So I think it's quite smart business, to be honest with you. It's not massively exciting business whatsoever. It's not. But it's smart, in my opinion. And it's all, like I said, very low risk, high reward. These players don't work, then we can't sit here in 4 or 5 years' time going, oh, look at the money we wasted on Andros Townsend. Look at the money we wasted on Demarai Gray. What? 1.5 million. Townsend are free. It's these types of players that mightn't be the most exciting and mightn't be the signings that we expected Everton to make this summer. But with FFP and given the situation we're in, I'm not massively too fussed about them. Am I massively excited? No, but I'm not massively too fussed about them either. Let's move on to Andros Townsend then. 30 years old, winger of course, just being basically released by Crystal Palace and told that they didn't want to sign him on a further deal. I sort of get the frustrations surrounding Andros Townsend. I do. I understand it. Because, again, when teams like Crystal Palace, who obviously are seen as, below Everton in regards to their, their Premier League status. Well, they are below Everton in regards to their Premier League status, let's be perfectly honest with ourselves. No disrespect to Palace. And they're letting go a player, and Everton are saying, right, well, we'll bring him in. It does make you sort of think, well, hang on, how is that enthusiastic by Everton whatsoever, going and bringing in a player that wasn't wanted by a Premier League club that aren't in as good of a position as Everton are? I understand it. Again, 30 years old, got a striker, remember that goal against Manchester City, good technical player, Andros Townsend. For me, it does seem a bit similar to the Theo Walcott signing, i.e. a player coming into Everton towards the back end of his career, not very consistent, probably not going to offer us an awful lot. But like I said, the one massive difference between the 2 signings is that one of those players cost us £30 million and one's costing us less money than what this mouse on my desk cost me, and that cost me less than a £5 in the Asda. So there's a big difference there. Again, not a massive, oh my god, I can't wait to see we're going to win the league signing, but maybe Everton need to rear away from those types of players, because those types of players that we've signed over the years haven't won us nothing. How many signings have Everton made over the last 5, 6, 7 years in which we've brought in players and we've all sat here on the streams or on videos or on Twitter and gone, oh my god, we're defo getting in Europe with these players, we're defo getting in the top 4 with these players, and again we finish bang average 8th, 9th, 10th in the table. Those players are deemed not good enough, and we've wasted 50, 60, 70, 80 million pounds on them. If these players aren't deemed good enough, then a lot of people will be proven right, but it also won't be a massive financial loss on the books. Andros Townsend, like I said, decent Premier League player. Actually, was involved in a lot more goals than you would think last season. I think other than Luca Dean in the Everton squad, there wasn't an Everton player that had more assists than what Andros Townsend got last season. So he's already bringing something more than we've got. John says Everton would have paid £50 for your mouse cam. There you go. Kev says, come on, take the rose-tinted glasses off. I've got no rose-tinted glasses on, mate. Honestly, I'm not sitting here going, Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend are going to be boss for Everton. They might be absolutely dreadful. But what I'm saying is, I'm not massively enthused by the signings, but I'm also not fuming, because they're coming in on very low, transfer fees. Two of the players we're being linked with at the moment are coming in for free, and the other one's coming in for £1.5 million. And okay. Tom says, "Can you black? What am I blacking myself about? What am I black? Okay, there could be absolutely every chance that they don't bring anything to this football club. But can somebody tell me what Alex Iwobi's brought in the last 4 years or 3 years that he's been here? Bernard's brought in the last 3 years that he's been here. Balassi brought in his time here. Cenk Tosun's brought in his time here. Walcott brought in his time here. What did those players bring? And yet we spent about £100 million on all of those players combined. So if you're replacing a £125,000 per week player in Bernard, who brought nothing to the club, and you're bringing in a £40,000 a week player in Andros Townsend, who might bring something, mightn't bring something, then how is that not a shrewd bit of business? Not the most exciting bit of business. They're not going to win us the league, but for me, do you know what it screams of this? And Dan says it in the comments. Not rose tinted, but the season is 3 weeks away, which is exciting. We should be slaying the market like the Moyes days. This for me is very, very similar to the David Moyes days, where we'd bring in players that we weren't really happy about, that weren't going to cost us a lot of money, and look at what happened in the Moyes days. A lot of those players went on to become Everton legends. A lot of those players went on to become players that we would dream of now. Your Tim Cahill's, your Mikel Arteta's, your Marcus Bents, your Jermaine Beckfords, players that we all looked at the time and gone, hang on, why are we signing these? They ended up being players that a lot of them would sit here now and go, imagine we had a Lee Carsley in the team. Imagine we had a Marcus Bent. Imagine we had a Kevin Campbell. So, again, it's not rose tinted. I'm just trying to look at every other area. Adam says goals last season in the Prem. DCL with the most. Then Hammers with 5. Sigurdsson 5. Richie 7. Iwobi 1. Bernard 1. Decore 2. Keane 3 and 4. Or 4. And Mina 3. So look at your wingers there. Iwobi 1. Bernard 1. Now, is it beyond the realms of possibility that Andros Townsend comes in and scores more than 1 goal next season? No, it's not. Is it beyond the realms of possibility that Demarai Gray comes on and scores more than 1 goal next season? No, it's not. So they're already, if they do that, will be better than what Bernard and Alex Iwobi were last season. Tom says we won nothing with them, Cam. We didn't win anything with them. We didn't. But we've not won anything for 30 years, mate. So I think Everton's priority for me, I've said it for years, should be winning a cup. I don't care about top 4, don't care about Champions League, don't care about winning the league. I care next season about Everton winning the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. That's it. That's all I care about next season. Forget top 4, I'm not asked. I'm not asked if we finish in the Champions League. I'm not even asked if we finish in the Europa League. I'd rather us go and win a trophy next season, because this club is starved of success. This club is starved of silverware. What do we get finishing in the Europa League next season? Would it be great? Yeah, it'd be absolutely amazing, because we'd get to go to Europe and watch the Blues, and it'd be absolutely boss. But we could finish in the Europa League next season, and the following season be out in the group stage, and that's it for another 5 years. We don't finish in Europe again. Well, if we win a trophy, that's ingrained in the history of the football club forever. I want to see Everton win a trophy at this point. I'm not asked about anything else. I want to see Everton win a trophy. Will these players coming in bring Everton a trophy? Maybe, maybe not. But with FFP at the moment, this is why we're in this situation. We're in this situation because we've wasted countless amounts of money on silly signings over the seasons. Kev says, come on, Cam, he's a championship player and has been as well, isn't subtle. Well, again, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's a championship player according to some Evertonians. And look, I will probably try and look at it in a positive manner, because if they're going to sign for Everton, then what's the point in looking at it in a non-positive manner? But I get everyone's frustration. I get Tom, I get Kev, I understand everyone's frustrations. I get it. They're not very enthusiastic signings, they're not very exciting, and they may come in and do absolutely nothing. I understand it completely. But this is the situation that we're in, isn't it? This is clearly the situation that we're in. Blue Boys 2 says, I tell you what, it all bloody screams bloody common sense. Something we've been very, very short of for a while. Suddenly I'm not hating the management quite as much. Well, yeah, there you go. Let me just bring up some Andros Townsend stats, by the way. Again, this might mean absolutely nothing, but I think it's worth saying. In the 2020-21 Premier League season, last season, Andros Townsend had 2,259 minutes. He scored 1 goal, he got 5 assists, and he created 40 chances. Bernard and Alex Iwobi in the same season had 1,993 minutes, scored 2 goals, got 2 assists, and created 26 chances. So Andros Townsend last season, albeit with more minutes, created a lot more chances than what Alex Iwobi and Bernard did together. Now again, and I agree with this, by the way, because I've said for a long time, Everton need to look at replacing the players in the first team and not the players on the bench. And Tom says I'm not having a go at you, Cam. No, I get it, mate. I get it. I understand it completely. I get the frustrations. And this is where my frustration a little bit comes in, because I've said for a long time, Everton need to move away from replacing the bench players and look at replacing the first teamers, and then your first teamers become your bench players. So instead of looking at replacing Bernard with Andros Townsend? Why aren't we looking at replacing Richarlison with Leon Bailey? And then if Richarlison doesn't step it up, he becomes the bench player and Leon Bailey becomes the starter. I get all of that. But I think the reality of the situation with financial fair play and with Everton's financial constraints is we can't go out and replace the first teamers and have the first teamers become the bench players. We need to go out and replace the bench players to try and find some wriggle room with finances. And is Andros Townsend the most exciting signing ever? No, he's not. John says can't defend 1 goal a season, may as well have kept Walcott. I understand it. I understand it completely. But again, Walcott will Andros Townsend be on as much money per week as Theo Walcott would be? I don't think he'll be on anywhere near as much, to be honest with you. Don't think he'll be on anywhere near as much. Basic Trigonometry says, the question is, do they have the potential to do more than what we have? The answer is quite possibly yes. Yeah, they do. They do, of course they do. Because let's be honest, what we've got at the moment isn't doing an awful lot. So it's not hard. I reckon I could sign for Everton and potentially do better than Bernard and Alex Iwobi do, or Fabian Delph, or Andre Gomez, or whatever. But listen, I get all the frustration. I get all the frustration. I get that there's signings that people aren't very happy with. I get that there's signings that people aren't very, elated with, and this, that, and the other. But if we were to sign Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray in the final week of the transfer window, when we'd already signed a couple of other first team players that were dead exciting, would we have that big of an issue? I don't think we would. Again, Asmir Begović, like I said, no issue with it. No issue with the Asmir Begović signing whatsoever. I think it's a true bit of business. We'll be coming in on probably minimal wages, not really going to demand any first team football. He'll know his place, and that is number 2 in the squad. He'll provide competition. He's a Premier League experienced keeper. If he needs to step in, he'll be able to do so at a decent enough level. No issue with the Asmir Begović stuff whatsoever. The Townsend and Demarai Gray stuff are a little bit more frustrating. I understand it, but it's an indication of where Everton are at the moment. And can I ask a question? Let me ask a question to the live comments now. Everton come to you, Danboy, Jason, Dennis, Adam, Tom, John, Abigail, Stallion, Danboy, everyone in the comments. Everton come to you now and they say, right, we've got 2 options. We try and wriggle room our way around FFP by selling some of the fringe players, bringing in players on who aren't going to blow anyone's skates up, but on much cheaper contracts, and then try and make some money that way to sign a Leon Bailey or a Denzel Dumfries, or to bring in a first teamer. So you'd have to put up with some of these types of signings, or we sell Dominic Calvert-Lewin tomorrow, or Richarlison tomorrow. Because let's be honest, Everton could fix this. Everton could, sort financial fair play out tomorrow if they sold Dominic Calvert-Lewin for 70 million, if they sold Richarlison for 50 million, if they went and sold Jordan Pickford after a brilliant Euros tournament, cash in on Jordan Pickford. Then we'd be signed. We could go out and bring in a Leon Bailey, a Denzel Dumfries. Absolutely. But do we want Everton to go out and sell those players that we're trying to build a squad around? Your Jordan Pickford, your Richarlisons, your Dominic Calvert-Lewins, your Luca Dean. And even with those players, you'd have to get teams interested. You have to get teams that want to bid. Moise Kean last season was very, very good. Don't think people understand how good Moise Kean was for PSG last season. He was scoring in, Champions League quarterfinals against Barcelona, and yet they don't want to sign him on a permanent deal. So, as much as I can sit here and say the second option of selling one of the big players, but who's going to pay 70 million for Dominic Calvert-Lewin now, given the financial situation everybody's in because of the pandemic? Who's going to pay 50 odd, 60 odd for Richarlison? Who's going to pay 50 odd for Jordan Pickford? So, and a lot of people in the comments, Lenny says first option, Nico first option, Adam first option, Basic Trigonometry says exactly, Cam. Jack says 2 decent players out of 20, shocking. Danby says spot on, Cam, we just need to add some pace in the right back to our squad, and our squad has improved. What would we rather do? Because whether we like it or not, whether we want to admit it or not, we are bollocked with FFP. Simple as that, we're bollocked with it. Countless years of spending silly money on shocking players has bollocked us, and we're now we're now seeing the effects of that. We're now seeing the effects of it by having to go out and bring in Townsend and Demarai Gray on very little money. So what would we rather do? Accept that that's the situation that we're in, and we might see some of these players that aren't necessarily that exciting but are very low risk and could be high reward, or go out and go, right, let's cash in on one of the big boys, and then we'll have a lot more wriggle room. We'll be able to bring in a few other players. What are we going to do? Sell Calvert-Lewin and then need to go out and bring in another striker? It'd probably cost us 2/3 of what we'd sold Calvert-Lewin for, so we wouldn't really have that much money to spend anyway on other areas. Sell Richarlison, who, okay, last season wasn't great, but let's be honest, over the last 3 seasons, he's been our best player, averaging our best player. Sell Jordan Pickford, who's just starting to come into his own and look like an absolutely unbelievable goalkeeper. What are we going to do? Sell him and have to replace him then? Luca Dean, one of the best left-backs in the world, we're going to sell him? I don't want to sell any of those players. I don't, because we're trying to build a squad around those players. So, it's difficult. It's difficult. Anyway, let's get into some of the live comments then. We'll read from top to bottom. We will go to the top as well. So if you put a comment at the start of the stream, and you want it to be read out, lash it in the comments again and I'll get to it. If you're enjoying, by the way, hit the like button. 200 people watching, 73 likes. If you could get to 100, that would be unbelievable. By the way, if any of these 3 players do get announced today or tomorrow, we will be doing a video straight away talking about them individually, talking about how positive that signing could be and what they bring to Everton, basically. So whether it be Begović, Andros Townsend, Demarai Gray. So if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It only takes a second and it keeps you up to date with all the latest Everton news and information as well. And we are, over the next couple of days, going to talk about Everton's 1-0 victory over Blackburn Rovers on Saturday afternoon at USM Finch Farm as well. Jean-Philippe Gbamin getting his first goal for Everton. What a player he's looked so far in the first couple of pre-season games. Hopefully he can stay fit going forward, because he looks like he could be a massive addition to the squad going forward, and even a new signing, which is what some people have said. Anyway, let's get into the comments. Nico says, yes, Dan, let's go. Said we need squad players, so I think they're good business. Kev says, less exciting this shite cam, Andros bloody Townsend. Fair enough, mate. And maybe he'll bring Norton to the club. Maybe he will. And maybe some people will say, well, why even replace Bernards and Palacios? Why not just get rid of those players and then save up that money to try and go and bring in a first team player? And I get that as well. I understand that as well. But there's obviously some method behind this. Mark says, plus, remember FFP works on a 3-year cycle. Chelsea were able to spend big last year because they had a year off spending. Maybe that's what we have to do to fix the books. Maybe. Adam says, I'm happy with Townsend and Gray signings, and Begović is just backup, so I don't really care. We have Pickford. Yes, spot on. Scory says, you're going to be on Toffee TV Live at 5 today. I'm not on today. I'll be on tomorrow and Thursday. So yeah. Tom says, we won not with Moyes. We didn't. You're right. He also says Andy Carroll's looking for a club. If we get him and finished, we won't get Andy Carroll, mate. We won't get Andy Carroll. Yeah. We don't need a backup striker anyway. If Moyes keen stays, we don't need a backup striker. Alex says, people complain about squad depth and complain when we sign squad players for nothing. Yeah. Chris says, very much like Moyes signings. Neville, Barry, Gibson, Pino. Well, Barry was a Martinez signing, but Gareth Barry wasn't. I remember we signed Gareth Barry and people were saying, what are we signing him for? 30 odd years old, no pace, this, that and the other. Gareth Barry, one of Everton's best midfielders I've ever seen, come in at a time when people were thinking, why are we signing him? If you're enjoying, by the way, hit that like button. Please do hit that like button. Adam says, will Keane's footwork be better for us and can meet up with the ball at the right time and score without hesitation? Let's hope so. Will says, not against these two coming in, especially when we signed the Wobie for 35, scoring a goal a season. Yeah, we'll look again. Will Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray provide more than certain other players within the squad? There's a big potential that they will. And are they going to cost us the same amount of money as those players did? Absolutely not. And I get people who say, well, that doesn't mean they're good, Cam. Just because they didn't cost as much and just because they'll offer more doesn't mean they're good enough. Maybe they're not good enough if Everton's expectation is to win the Champions League. But that's not Everton's expectation, is it? Jedi says, the Sands don't fill me with hope. I'd rather prefer Zaha than the two of them, or Pedro Neto. Yeah, but Zaha would cost us 50-60 million. Pedro Neto would cost us 50-60 million that we haven't got to spend. So, Jack the Lad says, we definitely have one of the best midfielders to the Premier League. Alan, JP, Duke, Gomez, Gilfie, James Davis. If you get Damsgaard, so if you get Damsgaard, it'd be a brilliant signing. I don't think we will get Damsgaard. And I still think we need another midfielder as well, by the way. Hopefully that midfielder that's coming in is a first teamer and not somebody that, isn't deemed the first teamer by a lot of fans. Where are we then? Danby says, we've improved the balance of our squad without simultaneously reducing our wage bill, and people are still complaining. Classic Evertonians. Eugene says Everton should get Alan St. Maximum. Keenan says some of our best players came in on a cheap deal. James, Seamus, DCL. I'd rather this than spend loads on players like Iwobi and waste money. Iwobi's had a lot of stick, hasn't he? A lot of stick. And look, Alex Iwobi has got the potential to still be a decent signing for Everton, but the reality of the situation is, for the money that he cost thus far, he's done nothing. He's not warranted that whatsoever. Paid 35 million, says Will. Keane says, rather sign these players who will graft and work for the team than Iwobi, who claimed he was being played out of position and has done nothing. Steve Jung says, Cam, I know we have to stay positive, mate, but just feels like merry-go-round, Walker, Balassi, Iwobi, Benales, replacing poor quality with poor quality spinning wheels. I get it. I understand it. Listen, I get the frustration. Kev thinks we'll end up with John Joe Shelby. I don't. Aaron says, Gray is lightning. Him and Richie on the wings whipping balls to TCL is what we've needed for a while. We lack pace. Gray has the pace. Fair point. Stallion says they're getting us back for buying the live building, Tom. Will says, Cam, I think Gray definitely offers something we haven't got. I would agree. He's got pace, which is something we definitely haven't got. Ewan says, how many Newcastle United players do you think Rafa will sign? Not many. Direct and pace, he says. Will Jedi says we need more depth in the squad. The squad depth last season was abysmal, so I do not necessarily disagree with these signings. There you go. So it's split. It's split. Actually, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to put a poll in the Steam, because why not? We're going to put a poll in the Steam. Are you happy? Hang on. Are you happy with Gray? We'll go Gray and Townsend. We won't include Begović because I don't think anybody's really got an issue with Begović. It's a simple, are you happy with Gray and Townsend? Not going to ask the reason, not going to ask, the specifics. It's a yes or no. You could be happy with them because you think they're good enough to improve the squad. You could be happy with them because they're low risk, potential high reward. You could be happy with them because they come in and they offer us something that nobody else offers. Or you could be against them because they're not good enough, because they're, again, no improvements on some of the other players we've had. So let us know. The poll is in the chat now. 189 people watching. The more people we could get voting on that poll, the better. It's simple. Are you happy with the Gray and Townsend signings, if they are to be made? Yes or no? If you're enjoying as well, hit that like button. If we could get to 100 likes, it would mean a great deal to me. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. But yeah, like I said, look, again, I'm not massively enthused by them. I'm not. And if Everton are to finish this transfer window and go into next season and are only 3 signings, Asmir, Begović, Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend, then I will be slightly frustrated, because I don't think those 3 players improved this squad drastically whatsoever. I don't think those 3 players are the difference between us making European football and not making European football. However, if those players are coming in to replace some fringe squad players, and we're still looking at a Denzel Dumfries, a Leon Bailey, a Samuel Chukwueze, etc., to come in as a first teamers, then yeah, I've got no big issue with Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray. And what I would say is these players are coming in very, 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 very cheap. Townsend free, no risk. Begović free, no risk. Demarai Gray, 1.5 million. Not a big risk. I get there's frustration around them, and I get you might say, yeah, Cam, but we're bringing in awful players for no money. What's the point? But they could be, they could be, they could bring us something that none of the other players do. Look, it's difficult to get loads of positives out of this situation, isn't it? It's tough because it's not a massively exciting, list of players we're being linked with, but it is what it is, and that's all we can say, isn't it? Kev says, Cam, these Lit would agree with you no matter what. Look, there's nothing to agree with. Do I think they're the most exciting? No. Could they provide more than Bernard and Iwobi do? Well, Bernard and Iwobi don't provide anything, so yeah, there's the potential. Irish Football Fan TV, what's happening? Paulie says, good vid, Cam, you're up to 79 likes. Thank you very much, Paul, really appreciate that, my mate. Jonathan says, can't believe we've signed that Andros Townsend, what a terrible signing. We haven't yet, but we'll wait and see. Keane says, we've been crying out for wingers who run at defenders. Hopefully these two can cause issues. There you go. Tazio says, we've spunked away over 100 million on tossing Balassi, Walker and Iwobi. We are getting these new guys for less than 2 million. Makes sense to me. John Jones says, Rafa might improve Iwobi. There is still hope for him. Listen, on the money side of it, again, people will always have their issue with Andros Townsend coming in. I get it. But for me, the deal to bring in Demarai Gray for 1.5 million, I don't think it's a bad deal whatsoever. I really, really don't. I think he's a player that has got something, and we just haven't seen it yet. And if he can bring that something out at Everton, then I think he could be a really good signing for that money. John Jones says, Rafa might improve Iwobi. There's still hope for him. Tom Pepper says, when you go into the store and the DVD bargain buckets, they're there. Mad. Don't forget to vote on that poll, by the way. 58 people voting, 194 watching. If you could get as many votes on that poll before we finish up, that would mean a great deal. Mark says, still want to see more of Gordon. I know it's pre-season, but he looks hungry. Yeah, hopefully we do see more of him. Paul says, yeah, St. Maximin was lined up with Everton. Is that true? Don't like him. I don't think so, mate. There's some rumours there, but I don't think so. I don't think that's the case, Kev, personally, but there you go. Jedi says, saying those prices, Cam, I am made up. I think the market, they're great signings. Obviously, I would love the bigger players like Maximum, Pedro, Neto, and Zaha, but money is tight and we need depth. Yeah. Basically, Nomsy says, let's look at it this way. How many times last year did we look at the bench and there was nothing there? Spot on. Stallion says, big Crouchers on a free. Don't be surprised. I'd take Lennon back before Townsend. He's shite and similar type player. Head down and run with the ball till they run into somebody. Fair enough, that's your opinion, fair enough. Cameron says, win a trophy and beat the Cobbite to the 2 keys for the season. Just win a trophy for me. Not asked about anything else, just winning a trophy. Uden says, where do you think Everton will finish now that we've signed Townsend? I don't think the Townsend signing will make any difference to where Everton finish whatsoever. Neither does the Gray signing, but hopefully, and this is the key phrase, hopefully these two aren't going to be the only outfield players we sign this summer. Because it's a much different conversation if they are. Freeman Printo says, what do you think of Demarai Gray? I think he could be a really shrewd signing for the money that we're paying for him. Could he fail? Absolutely. But could he succeed? There's all the chance, I think. Tom says, wait till the derby and we get swatted by them with this shit. Danby says, Newcastle 2-1, Everton with Gomez and Gylfi on the wings. Imagine it. Nico said we had a poor bench last season. These signings make sense to me. Stephen says, always like Gray. 1.5 million is decent. Townsend was a regular at Palace and was one of their key attacking players, so it distorts the stats against Bernardo and Iwobi, etc. Stephen says, I gamble on Gray for 1.5, but Townsend is a shocker, just another Iwobi. No end product, we need goals and assists. Chris says, just think Obama and Keane are effectively new signings if they both stay and stay fit. Cameron says, win a trophy. Sorry, read that one out. Where are we then? Tazo says, and don't forget we were linked with Gray when Marco Silva was here, and a lot of supporters were happy for Everton to get him. The price was over 20 million, as we're now getting him for 2. Yeah, 1.5, less than 2 million. Johnny says, FFP wise, while it makes sense to sell players that were brought in for low fees like DCL, then say Richie, who cost 40 million, it's pure profit and adds revenue. Don't want to sell our best players, by the way. Exactly. There you go. Will says, for 1.5, it's excellent business. Tom says, if Gray was any good, he wouldn't be 1.5 million. Well, look, you know, a lot of players have signed for a lot of clubs over the years for very, very cheap. You know, how much did Kevin De Bruyne cost Manchester City? Not an awful lot whatsoever. Here you go. Another rumour. Everton interested in signing Burnley's Dwight McNeil, as well as Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray. Rafa Benitez wants to improve the club's natural wingers for more service to DCL. Benitez also wants a backup striker. That's according to Pete Greaves at Sky Sports. So we're not close to signing Dwight McNeil, but Everton are interested in Dwight McNeil. Dwight McNeil's a decent player, in my opinion. Decent player. Scored a worldie against us last season. If we can sign Dwight McNeil for 3 million, listen, they're not massively enthusiastic signings, are they? But this is the situation that Everton are in now because of FFP. Kev says, Cam, you can't be happy with Townsend. Come on, mate. I'm not massively over the moon with him, Kev. I'm not going to lie. I'm not massively over the moon with him. But I also understand it. And I'm like, it is what it is, isn't it? It is what it is. If he's going to be... If you were to say to me, Andros Townsend comes in and starts 38 games next season for Everton and he is the only winger you bring in, then I would be unhappy with that. But I don't think that's the situation. Adam says Dwight McNeil is a good shout. Mozza says balance the books. Tazu says we are crying out for pace and these players bring pace and crosses. It doesn't work out. We haven't lost much. Danboy says, Cam, mate, I was saying last night we literally got beat by Newcastle and we had Gylfi right mid. Last season, sorry, and don't you remember? Oh, yeah, okay, I thought you mean in next season. Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah, spot on, mate, spot on. Don't forget to vote in the poll, by the way, 72 votes. If we could get that to 100, it would be brilliant. We're going to finish the stream up in a moment as well, so if we could get those votes up, that would mean a great deal. Lewis says these squad players won't do any worse than Balassi, Walcott, Bernard, Gordon, Luckman, and Iwobi, etc. Chris says we did this type of signing. Oh, yeah, we said that one before. John Jones says 20 extra goals have to come from somewhere if we have any chance of top 6. That's what I mean, and that's why I'm sort of forgetting the top 6 at the moment. John says Kendall signed 7 bang average players, but one was Neville Southall. There you go. Danway says some of you lot would rather spend 30 million on a player of the same quality as Townsend than Gray. These humble signings are more what we need. Fair enough. Jack the Lad says, I know that, but look at where we finished last season with Carlo. The squad is mid-table. It is. MLW says we need hungry players who aren't thinking they're bigger than Everton. We need players who are wanting to prove themselves. Yeah, spot on. Look, get your votes in on the poll then before we finish up the live stream. It is simple. Are you happy with Andros Townsend and Demarai Gray? Jedi says leave a like for Cam. Please do. If you are enjoying and you haven't already, please hit that thumbs up button. It only takes a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the stream if you're new as well. But yeah, look, just to finish up then, are these massively exciting signings? No, they're not. Are they the worst bits of business in the world? No, they're not. And that's it. Are they surprising with Everton's FFP situation? They're really, really not surprising either. 2 minutes left on the poll, by the way. We'll finish it up at 50. But no, they're not massively surprising either. And yeah, they could improve Everton drastically. They mightn't improve Everton at all. But for very, very low risk, 1.5 million for Demarai Gray, free for Andros Townsend, free for Begović, there's a potential of a high reward there. And if it's not a high reward, then we haven't really lost out on much, have we? But what would we rather do? Go out and bring in Demarai Gray for 1.5 million, or bring in, I don't know, a similar ilk player for 40 million, which is what we've done in previous seasons anyway. So, again, we were linked with Reece Nelson the other day. Would we rather spend 50 on Reece Nelson, which is what Arsenal might want, or 1.5 on Demarai Gray? I don't know. Cameron says, good stream, Cam, mate. Keeping us all sane on a Monday. Thank you very much, mate. John says, peace out, Cam. Cheers, John. We will be back, by the way, tomorrow morning. We're going to talk more about transfers. We're also going to talk about the Blackburn game over the next couple of days as well. And as I said, if any of these players are officially announced, Begović, Andros Townsend, Demarai Gray, then we will be talking about them as and when they are announced as well. So don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as well. Because then you'll get a notification every time we upload or every time we go live, which means you'll never miss a video or you'll never miss a stream. So hit the bell notification, hit the subscribe button. We're going to finish up the poll then. Now, Danboy says, Tom, if Rafa does play negative football, then you'll get something to moan about. Kevin says, comparing Neville to Townsend, what a joke, what a comedy. Well, listen, it's... Well, I think the point was, we've signed players before that fans haven't wanted and haven't deemed good enough, and those players have turned out to be good enough, more than good enough. Club legends, some of them. Frim Pinto says, when you on Toffee TV, Cam? I think Tuesday, Thursday this week, mate. Tom says, thanks, Cam. Cheers, Tom. Really appreciate it, mate. Josh says, I'd rate Gray, but Townsend. Dean, not good enough for Spurs or Palace. Fair enough. The poll has been finished at 89 votes. Are you happy with Gray and Townsend? 65% of people said yes, and 34%, which makes no sense, but 35% of people said no. So there you go. There you go, incesting certainly. JF says, 30-year-old Townsend who has never scored double figures in a season nor assisted, those numbers just aren't going to help us. Gray isn't any good, ask Leicester fans. Vincent says, what does T-Logic make of this? I have to ask him, mate. I'm going to speak to Tom, hopefully get him on in the next couple of days or so. Chris says, awesome show, bud. Hope you have a good afternoon. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that. And yeah, look, again, they're not the most exciting signings in the world. They're not going to get us, over the moon. We're not going to be in town on the bevies when we announce them, if we announce them. But look, they may turn out to be a success. They mightn't turn out to be a success. Exactly the same as what Alex Iwobi did when we signed him. We were all sitting here saying he may be good, he mightn't be good. The difference is we spent a lot of money on Alex Iwobi. We're not spending any money on these two players. So there you go. Robin says, Cam, we had 8 out of 9 reserves, including 2 keepers and kids on the bench. We need squad depth, mate. Exactly. You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. Adam says, guys, most of you gave Pickford, DCL and Davis a ton of crap thrown at them. Look who's laughing now. Tazu hopes James stays. Says, looks happy and getting stuck in insane and doesn't look like he wants to leave. I agree. Tom says, Dunk was a club legend. He wasn't that good. There you go. And Juden says, see about the toffees. Look, we're going to finish it there then. Massive thanks to everybody for watching. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back as and when any breaking news hits, whether that be signings or anything else. And if none of that comes out between now and the end of the day, then we'll be back tomorrow morning talking more about Everton. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Big thanks for watching. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments. Sorry I couldn't get involved with all of the live comments, but I appreciate everybody watching and getting involved. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your comments in the comment section below. Robin says, keep up the good work, make and smash the like, everyone. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, Robin. Jada says, Pina didn't cost much. He didn't. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.